Sebokeng, which is, I need to actually find out how far it is. I mean, in which direction? Is it in the west? Is it in the east? Definitely not the east. I think it would be in the western ends of Joburg. So I've just arrived here. This is where I need to do my passport application. It looks relatively empty, so I'm hopeful. My appointment's actually for 10, but I thought let me arrive super early so I can sort of go try and bite the bullet. Hopefully they can assist me. I know that for Home Affairs, appointments are just a way of controlling flow, but often you still have to wait even if you have an appointment. So I'm hoping now that I've arrived early, they're going to be able to help me out. Preps for Germany are turning out to be quite stressful, but yeah, wish me luck. Hopefully everything goes well. It's a very decent Home Affairs. It looks fairly new. It's a new building. So maybe as a tip, actually let me not give that tip until I've experienced how it is. I was going to say as a tip, look for Home Affairs which are quite far out, and they might be able to assist much more quickly. I'm a bit worried that because it's a bit out in the outskirts, maybe their turnaround times are affected, but let me stay optimistic. Let's see how it goes. Almost 3 hours later, and to be honest, okay, I'm done. 3 hours later.
Knock it along. They say you don't know what you got till it's gone. It's hard to move on, but we gave it a chance, and because you wasn't.
So I was just at Home Affairs in Cresta. For anyone who wants to know which Home Affairs are efficient and professional, this one was very professional and very efficient. I already have my passport. I think it took just over a week. So to be honest, I'm pretty happy and impressed. I was definitely expecting this to take much longer, but there was a bit of optimism. So the 21-day turnaround times that they stipulate on the website, I guess those are like the worst case scenarios where you're dealing with a Home Affairs that's maybe not as efficient or maybe a bit far out, etc. But so far so good. So it looks like I'm going to Germany. So I've just arrived at church, and apparently this service is about finances, and I will tell you guys after the service how I find it, but I feel like it's packaged just for me. I feel like the finance thing has been such a theme in my life, and while I'm making strides to be in a better place, it seems like it needs a far more intentional approach. I'm not sure, but yeah, let's hear what the pastor has to say about us managing our finances.
Says that God delights. He delights. It's not just something that he thinks about every now and then. He literally delights, finds joy in the prosperity of his servants. In other words, God absolutely loves it when you prosper.
It's cold, Gaband. So I went to the church service, and motherhood duties took over, so I didn't even have time to defrost, debrief. But basically the service was part one of a series. So Pastor Carol was still laying the foundation, and I have to admittedly say I was struggling to make the correlation between sort of giving practical tips, advice on managing finances, and somehow connecting that to God, spirituality, faith. So I was struggling to make that correlation, but it was a necessary reflection regardless, and I feel like it's such a timely sermon or series because this is something that I've just honestly been struggling with, and I have made such incredible strides this year alone in terms of what I'm doing about my finances. And since this is a visual diary, I thought, you know what, let me come onto this space and just be candid about it. So at the beginning of this year, I think I disclosed in a video how I had to move from Cape Town, even though the initial move to Johannesburg was prompted by a new job. I had already been looking for jobs in Cape Town, and one of the main motivators, there were two motivators. One of them was not feeling like I was growing enough in the role that I was in, and the second reason was I was simply not making enough money, and so it didn't really matter where we would be located, or it mattered less. And so I moved to Johannesburg because there were more pros than cons, and sort of the rest is history. And I think I've mentioned in probably every single video, if not most videos, that a girl is still feeling the pinch financially. So I will say this though, moving abroad prompted me to look at my financial health in a completely different way. And I think part of the reason was because I was expecting a second child, so I had to think about, you know, making my finances stretch in a different way, plan differently, think about money in a different way, think about it in a more long-term, with a long-term vision versus sort of making it month by month. And it was a necessary shift for me to start thinking about wealth, to start thinking about financial health, to start thinking about, you know, trying to also get better at it so that my children are far more equipped with the tools. But I have to also admit, I really struggle with the patience that's required to rebuild financially. I just want it all to be better. For example, I am trying to be debt-free by the time I'm 35. So I'm giving myself 2 years to pay off a very, very big lump sum of debt that I accumulated from, unfortunately, making some silly financial mistakes. But a big chunk of that money also went to car repairs, went to having to take a loan to support either my family or trying to make sure I am able to afford my life. So really, you know, in hindsight, that kind of debt could have been avoided. It was definitely not debt that I accumulated through reckless spending or credit cards just for the sake of having them. It was always from a sort of a survival point of view and not having long money that I can just sort of lean back on. And it's a painful reality that I know many of us feel. But it's just taking so much longer than I would have hoped to get to a place where I am financially in a better place. So that's why I just set the goal of, okay, till 35, what do I need to do to get there? And what I did for the first couple of years when I realized, oh, okay. So what I did when I knew that there was going to be another baby on the way, I started really reflecting on this, and I had to have a game plan because I'm also a hyper independent person. It's like, if I'm gonna be able to afford both of my children a certain type of life, I'm gonna have to start thinking about finances differently. And so I did the whole snowball effect. I started paying off the smaller debts, because when you are in debt, at least this has been my experience, you kind of feel stuck. You don't know where to start. I often felt stuck. And I think part of me feeling stuck was because life in itself is expensive. So it's difficult to have a wealth mindset or a saving mentality when you don't have money to save with, you know, or when you're constantly finding yourself having to dip into your emergency fund just to get by, just to get basics. Not living a bougie life, just to be able to buy electricity, just to be able to get petrol in the car. And so that was difficult for me, because I was like, how is this going to work? Until it finally clicked. So the snowball effect really, I think that's what it's called. Yes, snowball effect. It really works, because it also gives you that validation of, okay, I'm getting somewhere, you know, I'm making strides. They might feel small, but I am paying off things, you know. And so I started paying off the smaller things, and now I've got a biggish lump sum left that I'm hoping, I have a plan in terms of how much money I can contribute monthly, and when I have more, how much I can contribute to it monthly. And the goal is by 35, I should have paid it off. I will not lie to people. It is so incredibly difficult to honor that against the backdrop of increasing cost of living. It is also incredibly difficult because I think having debt for whatever reason, maybe that needs its own complete video, has brought along a lot of shame for me. I think it's internalized shame, because I have, for the most part, ticked the societal boxes, and I consider myself to be responsible. And so it's hard for me to make my peace with, oh my God, I am in this situation, even though I feel like I couldn't have prevented it. But now I'm also struggling to get out of it. And as a person who's hyper independent, I think finding solutions for things is easy, or has been easy. So there's been a lot of shame. And maybe the sermon, while I can't draw the connection yet to like, okay, what is my pastor saying to me about finances? What is God saying to me about finances? Is there even a correlation? I think what I'm taking from this series is maybe to release some of the shame and to extend some grace. And those are things that are godly. Those are things that Christianity is rooted in. And for those who are non-Christian, I think generally you need to be patient. You need to extend grace to yourself. I think those are gems that I'm choosing to take from this. Well, let's see how the series continues. Let's see what I continue to take from it. But guys, wish me luck with my debt-free journey. I'm hoping that I'm going to be sitting here 2 years from now, letting you all know that I've really made it. But for now, I just want to extend a big shout out and a thank you to all my friends and community who show up for me when I need the extra 200 Rand there and I need the extra 100 Rand there, because cost of living is beating my behind.
People call it, you gotta call it confidence. So.
Abantu basiphi but silapha singamakristu kapha ekhaya sizotya ngoku sicela kube khona umuntu ozasikhokhela ngomthandazo sityeni namkelekile.